Hello and welcome to week 1, unit 2 of our openSAP course SAP Cloud Application Studio for SAP Business by Design. I am Guru Prasad Dorai and I am a senior project consultant with SAP Business by Design development team. I will be your instructor for week 1 and for most of the week units in week 2. This entire openSAP course is modeled based on a user story, and most of the artifacts that we create in Cloud Studio would be based on this user story. In week 1, I will focus on business objects, the structure of business objects, how to create custom business objects, define business logic, and finally how to create and enhance user interface through SAP Cloud Application Studio. With this overview, let us get started with SAP Cloud Application Studio. Let me now first quickly give you a short introduction about SAP Cloud Application Studio. From now on, I will refer SAP Cloud Application Studio as Cloud Studio. Cloud Studio is a PaaS or a platform as a service based software development kit which enables partners and customers to adapt and enhance the core SAP Business by Design ERP suite. To quote an example, let us assume a customer wants to enhance a sales order with a field called Express Delivery. The Cloud Studio helps to enhance the standard business object offered by SAP Business by Design. More on the extension capabilities of SAP Business by Design using the Cloud Studio will be covered in week 3. Apart extending the standard solution, Cloud Studio also helps in building totally new solutions via addressing the white spaces or by creating a localized version of a country for SAP Business by Design, which would be covered in week 5. Cloud Studio is an integrated development environment which is built on Microsoft Visual Studio. SAP Business by Design solution can be adapted and enhanced through the public solution model, which in short is referred to as PSM. This means the standard business object and its attributes like nodes, elements, associations, and actions are exposed to partners and customers through PSM. PSM can be write or read enabled. That is, if any business object is read enabled, which means the data can only be used for reading purpose, and write enabled means data can be written or modified into the business object. We will see more about PSM when we go into the demo. Moving on, Cloud Studio offers end-to-end lifecycle management through which the solution developed in one tenant can be assembled, downloaded, and shipped to another tenant. More about lifecycle management will be covered in week 5. Most of the artifacts that can be created in Cloud Studio is wizard-based approach, which is very intuitive and thereby enhances the developer productivity. Now, let's take a quick look into the architecture of Cloud Studio. SAP Business by Design follows MVC architecture, that is the model view controller. Here on the diagram, it represents the MVC architecture of Business by Design, where the model is the database persistency, view is nothing but the user interface, could be like the work center views, transactional UIs, and the business objects is the application content or the entities where the business logic is written for most of the application areas. Cloud Studio as well follows the same architecture, and the framework provides ease of use of business objects with the CRUD operations, that is the create, read, update, and the delete operations. Now, this slide explains you about the prerequisites for downloading and installing the Cloud Studio. The prerequisites are that a partner or a customer must have a valid S user. With this S user, you could go to the software downloads using the link which is provided here, and then click on under the section, click on the downloads and access downloads under the section installation and upgrades. I would show this in a bit when how you could go to the software download center and how you could download the SAP Cloud Studio. Moving on to the prerequisites of the SAP Cloud Studio, as already mentioned, SAP Cloud Studio is an integrated development environment based on Microsoft Visual Studio, and hence the prerequisites to install the Cloud Studio are Microsoft .NET Framework and Microsoft Visual Studio 2010 isolated shell. Now, I will just quickly move on to the software download centers. So, I have launched the screen already, and under the installation and upgrades, once you click on the access download, you get a new window, and in this new window you could search for the SAP Cloud Application Studio. And as you could see, there are various versions available to download the SAP Cloud Application Studio. We will see which would be the right version for us to download in the next slide. Moving back to the slides. So, this slide talks about versioning and solution compatibility. In the software download center, we saw various versions of Cloud Studio available for download. Here in the table refers the various releases which is available for Business by Design and the Studio. SAP Business by Design has 4 releases in a year, namely 1802, 1805, 1808 and 1811. The first 2 digits represents the year and the next 2 represents the month. For example, 02 is for February, 05 is for May and so on. So, if one has to develop a solution in Cloud Studio for SAP Business by Design, the release of the Cloud Studio and the Business by Design release should match. For instance, in the table here, if the release of by design is 1808 release and the Cloud Studio should also be in 1808 release. If there is a release mismatch, that is SAP Business by Design is on 1811 and you try to access the Cloud Studio with 1808 version, then the system would throw an error and you need to download the latest version of the SAP Cloud Studio. The below illustration represents the deployment capabilities of SAP Business by Design and the SAP Cloud Application Studio. Here, let us assume 1808 is the current release where the solution is developed, and this solution could then be deployed into higher releases like 1811 and 1902 release. We could not deploy the solution which is created in 1808 to 1805 or to 1802. In a nutshell, this means that the SAP Cloud Application Studio offers the upward compatibility and does not support the download compatibility. This slide is about user setup and role assignment. It gives you an overview of what are the available users for us in SAP Cloud Application Studio and what with these users how we could log into the Cloud Studio. As you can see here, we have 3 user roles, that is the SDK developer, studio administrator and the business user. SDK developer is the person who creates and maintains the objects or the artifacts in the solution, and the studio administrator is the one who would create the solution and create the patches. The business user is the one who would test the add-on which is being developed, and based on this business user you do not assign any partner development work centers. The process is to first create the service agent in the Business by Design, request for user and then set up the user ID and the password for this service agent. And based on your authorizations for the developer, administrator and the business user, you could provide the necessary authorizations for these users. Now, this slide talks about how to configure the SAP Cloud Application Studio and with the Business by Design URL and how you could log on to it. So, the first step which will be is to change the initial password which you have created in the previous step. The password has to be changed by logging into the SAP Business by Design. To log into the Cloud Studio, one must refer to the SAP Business by Design URL and then provide the same in the Cloud Studio. Once this is done, then with the credentials you could log into the Cloud Studio. Upon successful login to the Cloud Studio, you could see the various options available like My Solutions, Solution Explorer, Property Explorer, and etc. I would show this in a bit during the demo. Moving on to the next topic, it's about the help content and the solution types available in SAP Cloud Application Studio. The various solution types offered in SAP Cloud Application Studio are customer specific solution, multi-customer solution, and solution template. Customer specific solution is a solution which is very specific to only one customer, which means you will develop the required functionality only for that customer and deploy the solution. MCS is a solution where the functionality will be very generic and can be deployed to multiple customers. For example, you can develop MCS for a localization of a country, address white spaces, or new features which could be industry specific. Solution template is a type of a solution which is used to have reuse objects or code which could be imported into one-off solutions or MCS. More on these solution types would be discussed in detail during the lifecycle management in week 5. SAP Cloud Application Studio offers the following help content, that is integrated help content, local help content, and the online help. Integrated help content is installed automatically when you install the Cloud Studio, and help is displayed on the standard content player of a browser. Local help content is installed automatically when you install the Cloud Studio, and help is displayed in the help viewer. You should use the Microsoft help viewer, and with this you could then press the F1 key for a keyword, and then the help would be displayed accordingly in the Microsoft help viewer. The online help, when you click on this link which is highlighted in the screen here on the slide, it would land you to the SAP Cloud Application landing page, and here you could see the contents like what's new in SAP Cloud Application Studio, the online version, and the PDF version of the help content. Now that you have seen an overview of SAP Cloud Application Studio, let's go ahead and download the SAP Cloud Application Studio and then have a quick look into how to create a user and then log on with the created user. So for that, first I've logged into SAP Business by Design client, and I go to business partner data and create a service agent. This is the work center business partner data, and I go to the work center view service agents. Click on new service agent. The service agent ID follows a format which is of this type. So you have to have ext and then followed by a 4-digit number which would range from 0001 to 9999. So I would specify a random number here. I would provide in my first name and my last name, and then click on save. Okay, so this window shows me a pop-up that there is a possibility of a duplicate user. You could either cancel and change, or you could ignore and save. So I would go ahead and ignore and save this. And once you save, the request button is enabled. So I would click on request user, and then I click on save and close. So with this, we have created a service agent, and now we will have to assign certain specific work center and work center views for this service agent to make him as a developer or as an administrator. So let's go ahead and see how to do that. I would go into application user management, business users, and I will specify the service agent ID which was just created. Sorry, I think I gave the wrong number. Let me just search with my name. So, here is the one which is created just now. So, I will go ahead, click on edit attributes. I will change the user ID. I do not want this user ID to be used every time I log in. So, I change it to a more convenient one. And then I given an initial password. This password has to be changed later. Click on save and I click on edit access rights. So, once we go into the edit access rights, here we could specify the necessary work center and work center views for the business user or the service agent, and then provide them as a developer or a administrator. So, I will search for the work center by the name partner, and here I could see the partner development work center. I click on locate. So, here you have various work center views under this work center, and PDI administration defines that if you select this particular work center view, then it would be an administrative user, and if you select PDI development, which means the person is a developer. For now, I would go ahead and provide the entire access, entire work center access, which means this user would be by default an administrator and a developer. I click on save. I click on close. So, I do a refresh. I could see that the new user has been changed. So, I log off and log in with the user created and change the initial password. So, once you have changed the password, the system gives you an information message saying that the password has been changed. So, with this, now we could go ahead and log into the Cloud Studio. So, now we will have to see how to configure the URL in the Cloud Application Studio. So, for that I would copy the URL and then click on this log on button. Note that I have already downloaded the Cloud Application Studio and installed. So, in case you have not done that, you could go ahead and do it. Here on the edit button, edit system, you could provide an entry. I have already provided the system here, provide a meaningful name and then the URL. Once you have done that, you could click on save and click on OK, and now I will log in with the user which I have just created. So, once the system is logged on, then I would help you to take you through the various aspects of Cloud Application Studio, and then we would go ahead and create one customer specific solution. Okay. So, now this system is logged in, and here are the various options which is available in SAP Cloud Application Studio. On the left hand side, you find the My Solutions. Here it lists what are the available solutions for you, and on the right hand side you have the Solution Explorer. So, once you create any solution, you would see the list of all the objects or the artifacts under this section, and then you have the other options like I click on View and I could go to the Repository Explorer, and here you have business objects, data types, enhancement options, the web services and the reuse UIs. So, with this list you could go ahead and see any of the business objects which has been PSM released. For now I would close this and then I would go ahead and create a solution. Right click on my solutions and click on create solution. You could give a name here and give a detailed description. I would copy the same. You could also give keywords. So, note that these detailed description and keywords could be used in case if you have a long list of solutions and you want to search them, you could use this search option here with this detailed description and the keywords. So, once you have provided those details and your personal information, you could click on OK, and this would then create the solution in the Cloud Application Studio. And I would like to summarize this unit. So, we have seen an introduction about SAP Cloud Application Studio, how to download and install the Cloud Application Studio, and which would be the right version of SAP Cloud Application Studio to create an add-on. We also created a user and defined the authorizations for this user. And finally, we saw how to configure into the Cloud Application Studio and how to log in, and then we did a small walkthrough of what are the available options in SAP Cloud Application Studio. Also, we saw about the various solution types and how to create a solution. And with this, we come to an end of week 1, unit 2, SAP Cloud Application Studio. Thank you and have a nice day.